All right, so let's talk about fasting. There's a lot to be talked about and a lot of ado about fasting, and I want to kind of break it down for you a little bit. So first of all, there's a couple reasons we do fasting. The biggest one is to shift our body into a different fuel state. All right, we are hunter-gatherers. Hunter-gatherers had periods of food and not food. When we didn't have food, our body shifted fuel sources and went from glucose burning to ketone burning. So if you're not sure what those are, really briefly, if you break down carbs and most protein, your body makes glucose, which it turns into fuel, or energy, I should say. When your body breaks down fat, it makes ketones, which it makes into energy. All right, both are fuels that your body uses, and we use both on a regular basis. However, because we eat carbs and we don't starve, we don't really see ketones much anymore. But as hunter-gatherers, which is what we are genetically, we had periods of food and not food. And when we didn't have food, our body had to shift fuel sources, and it would move away from glucose and into burning fat, ketones, for fuel. So understanding that point, when you fast, you're mimicking that starvation period where our ancestors would run out of food. And the fact is, if we only had glucose to burn and didn't have any other fuel sources, our body would have to start looking for other things to make glucose out of. Because you only store about 2,500 calories in your muscle, in your skeletal muscle, your liver, and a little bit of your circulating blood. But once you burn through that, your body is like, all right, where are we getting the glucose from? Well, there's not many other options left except to go to the main source of protein in your body and make that into glucose, which is your muscle, which is not healthy. All right, and if we didn't have any other sources, eventually we burn through our muscle. We have sarcopenia, move more than 50% of your body weight. In muscle, for more than 50% of your muscle mass, you die. All right, so we had to have an alternative. So our bodies had to shift from glucose burning to fat burning, and it starts breaking down your fat. You get 3,400 to 3,900 calories out of 1 pound of fat. All right, so ketones are a much more efficient, longer-lasting burning fuel source that make more ATP, the energy currency of your body, than glucose does. Okay, so when you go into starvation mode, fasting, your body will eventually burn through its glucose stores, maybe burn a little bit of its protein, and then move to its fat stores. That's the point of fasting, to shift your fuel sources. Now, there's also something that happens in that state called autophagy. All right, autophagy means eating self. So what happens, your body starts to break down the detritus and the breakdown of old dead cellular material and uses that for resources, right? So if your body's scavenging your fuel, it runs out of glucose and says, hey, what are we going to make it out of? Well, we're going to take the debris that's lying around. We're going to break down cellular debris. We're going to break that down. We're going to reuse it. All right. We're also going to break down some excessive immunoglobulins that are protein that are floating around, so we don't build up some allergenic things. And then we maybe will burn some of our body's fuel, our own protein. But the body realizes that's not a good thing, so it shifts. The problem is it shifts differently for everyone. So if you've never fasted before, the question really is, how long will your body take to make the shift from glucose burning to ketone burning? And the question is, it's very different per person. So for me, I'm a big keto guy. If you haven't known, I'm Dr. Ketone. I am all about keto lifestyle. I love keto lifestyle. I live in a keto lifestyle on a regular basis. I drink ketones. I do intermittent fasting, and I do a keto lifestyle. That's the majority of my life. Okay, I'm a high-fat paleo, actually. That's a clean keto. But I digress. So the point is, the body to shift. Well, if you've never done keto before, you've never changed fuel sources, your body may be very resistant to that shift. So for me to say to you, hey, do a 24-hour fast and you'll be amazing, I don't know the answer to that. Your body may need more time. I think 24 hours is a good point, but sometimes it takes 36, maybe even 48 hours for your body to shift. And if you've never done this before, this can be pretty traumatic for you, right? Your body's blood sugar tanks, and it's holding out hope that one day sugar is coming back before it shifts to glucose, fat burning. That can take a little bit of time. And then once you do shift, how quickly will your body use the ketones efficiently? Now, in a fasted state, you will become more keto adapted quicker than someone who's doing a keto lifestyle. But in general, it can take some time. You might get into ketosis in that first 24 to 36 hours, but maybe you're not using it very efficiently. And if you're not used to this and you get hypoglycemic, you can get a lot of symptoms you're not happy with. You could be tired. You could be fatigued. You could have mental brain fog, things like that. And you can get a little hangry, whatever it may be. So it's very different. So I don't ever tell someone who's doing keto for the first time to start fasting unless they're doing it for at least 2 to 4 weeks. And then we start talking about intermittent fasting. So let's talk about intermittent fasting in this video too, because I'm hoping that you understand the basic points of fasting. But intermittent fasting is doing fasting for periods of time each day. All right. A true fast is where you don't eat for 24, 36, 48, whatever. Sometimes even longer, 72-hour fast. We'll get into that more in a minute. But an intermittent fast, again, the whole goal of that is to take a period of time where you don't eat to get into ketosis, so your body burns body fat. You feel better because your ketones are much better for the energy for the body and the brain. Better mental clarity, better focus, things like that too. But the question is, me versus you versus the other person next to you, how long does it take you to get into ketosis versus you to get into ketosis versus me? Now, I've been doing this so long that I can get into ketosis very quickly. And my body switches that makes that switch very fast. Some people, genetically, they can do it very quickly. Some people, not so much. So a lot of times people do intermittent fasting and they'll fast 14, 16 hours and they'll lose weight. But for a lot of people, it doesn't work. And here's why. So you stop eating at, let's say you stop eating at 8 o'clock at night. The next day, you're going to wait till noon to eat. 16-hour fast, right? And you're like, okay, so let's say, I don't know how, let's say for your body, it takes 14 hours to get into ketosis. So you're in this period of time when you're intermittent fasting, and all of a sudden, about 2 hours, about 10 o'clock, you get into ketosis. Woohoo, we're burning fat. But then 2 hours later, it's time to eat. So what do you eat? Well, most people go back to eating the same things they normally eat, even if it's clean. But the fact is they're going back to glucose-based burning. The body shifts its fuel back to glucose, and now you're out of ketosis. So you eat for a few hours, and then until 8 o'clock that night, you don't eat. So you're eating your 16-8 fast. And then your body goes back and, all right, let's burn through our glucose stores. Let's do what we have to do. And then 14 hours later, we finally get into ketosis, and then we're right back into glucose burning 2 hours later. You're not going to get very far very fast. So understand that if you truly want intermittent fasting to work for you, you need to make sure you're fasting long enough, and that when you go back to eating fuel, you should be eating a keto-based lifestyle. High fat, low carb, moderate protein, because this way, when your body goes back into eating, it doesn't go right back to its glucose. It actually shifts its fuel over to ketones, and now you're continuing to burning fat. Because again, the whole point of a fast is to get you into ketosis. And I don't know how long it may take you, and maybe it takes you 14 hours, maybe it takes you 12 hours, maybe it takes you 5. Everyone's different. The longer you've been doing it, the quicker you can get back in. But if you're someone new to this and you're like, I want to lose some weight for the new year, well, I'm going to do intermittent fasting. I'm going to do a 16-hour fast. You may not lose anything. Yeah, you might lose a little bit in the beginning, and then you'll plateau, or you'll be starving, or you'll actually even gain a little weight because you're cutting your calories too much in that window you are eating. So the moral of the story is, hey, if you're going to fast, are you fasting long enough for your body to handle it? Are you getting into the state you want to get? And then when you get into that state, are you going right back to glucose burning? Or are you going to shift your fuel source to stay in ketosis? Are you doing an intermittent fast where we don't know how long you might take to get into ketosis, and then you're going right back into eating your glucose again? So there's definitely things that are good about fasting, but you have to know what you're doing and why you're doing it. All right. So if someone says to me, hey, should I do a 24-hour fast? Well, my answer is yes, no, maybe. I don't know who you are, what you're doing, what your metabolism is ready for. All right. If you're 250 pounds and most of it's not good weight, and you want to start fasting day one, I'm going to tell you, don't do that. You're not ready for it. Metabolically, you can't handle that. Now, if you're someone who's been doing a keto lifestyle for a little while, do that for a couple of weeks. Then maybe do some fasting for 24 to 36 hours. You'll see some pretty impressive changes. And then when you do fast, how are you fasting, by the way? Are you drinking? Are you doing a dry fast where you have nothing coming in? I don't recommend that. At the very least, on a fast, you should be drinking water and maybe having electrolytes at least once a day without carbs in them. All right. There are things that won't break your fast. Coffee is one thing that won't break your fast. I'm not a fan of using that, but it's something that won't break your fast. But things without calories won't break your fast. Even apple cider vinegar won't break your fast. But once you have calories coming in, you're breaking your fast. But one of the things I like to do is I use a ketone supported fast, where it doesn't matter how long you've been doing a lifestyle of keto or not doing keto at all. If I give your body the fuel it's looking for, it allows you to avoid that hypoglycemic episode and gets you to make that fast easier and longer and more easy. It allows you to stay in that fast longer. So for me, 60-hour ketone supported fast, not too hard. We're basically doing 60 hours, not eating anything else except for drinking water, maybe some electrolytes, and doing ketones 2 to 3 to 4 times a day, maybe even 5 times a day. So what are ketones? Just so you know, they are a drink that you can take, a powder that you drink that gives your body the actual fuel your body's trying to make and helps it to support that system better. So I really, if you want to know more about that, definitely check my links below about where you can go get ketones, at least the ones that I prefer. All right, and I can help you guide you through that in other videos that we'll have here. But in general, make sure you support your fast with water. Make sure you're keeping good electrolytes so they don't have carbs or any kind of sugars in them, as well as understanding how your body's going to react. And don't force your way through it, because sometimes that point at 24 hours or longer or even less, it can be dangerous for you if you don't know what you're doing. And lastly, electrolytes are important because as you drop insulin, again, as you stop using glucose, you're dropping insulin because you're shifting fuels. As that happens, we dump water and we dump electrolytes. All right, so we want to make sure that we don't lose too much of that to mess up our body's biochemistry. So we want to make sure we get the water in and electrolytes in. And remember, the last thing I'll say here is this. When you're burning fat for fuel, remember our body stores toxins in fat. So as you break that fuel down in a fast or any other kind of weight loss that you're doing, or fat loss that you're doing, you will release some of those toxins to the system. The solution to pollution is dilution. So you need to drink a lot of water to dilute those toxins you may be releasing. Otherwise, you may hold water and even bloat a little bit as you're losing weight, which we don't want to do. So lots and lots of water anytime you're doing any kind of fat loss, especially when you're fasting or doing a keto lifestyle. The electrolytes, maybe once a day, a good healthy electrolyte. I have some good answers. You can look down below in the links below if you want to find some good electrolytes that I recommend. But this is what you should do. So if you have more questions about fasting, drop some comments below. We'll get back to you, or just reach out. I'll be more than happy to help you. Have a healthy day. Keto on.